They actually said it. It is in a recent interview with Pierre LeBrun where he spoke to Sidney Crosby and his agent Pat Brisson. The Crosby camp had multiple very interesting comments about Montreal, including Sid saying, hey, it's a pretty good thing to have that team wanting you, but what his agent Pat Brisson said is really the spicy thing that has Habs fans absolutely fired up. We got to dive into that. Plus, Juraj Slafkovsky taking one-timers. Look, the only person I've seen take one-timers harder in practice right now is Patrik Laine, and this could very well unlock a huge aspect of his game that is still left untapped for the Montreal Canadiens. Note that it's Ivan Demidov passing to him, and also Eric Engels had a wonderful quote about Florian Xhekaj and just how good he has looked as of late. All that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. You know what? We're going to start with our boy Flo, and we'll start with Eric Engels' quote on him. Said, look, I think Florian could be a lot better than anyone thought he'd be when he was picked by the Canadiens. Why? 24 goals, 175 pims, that's part of it, but the main thing is that he clearly believes he can be that type of player in the NHL. I always say you'll never convince anybody if you aren't convinced yourself. That guy seems convinced to me, and yeah, convincing, he's convinced me, but it's better that he's convinced himself, and he seems convinced he'll go. Jesse, again, this rookie camp is going to be amazing, but this is one of the guys that we've been saying for a while, keep your eye on him, because I feel like this guy's ceiling is just, it climbs every year, which is not something you can often say.
And it's for that reason, it's really been a meteoric rise up the depth chart for Florian Xhekaj, a.k.a. Mike Honcho. I mean, if you know, you know. Gotta love that stash. But, like, I think that Eric Engels is right on the money with this take here, Josh. In fact, I mentioned just on the live last night that I see Florian Xhekaj surpassing Kaiden and even Owen Beck up the depth chart for the Montreal Canadiens. Why? Because, again, he's a unicorn. There's just so many things that this guy does right. Like, you don't normally see in one package from one player. I like to think of, like, Xhekaj Florian, he's like kind of like a fourth liner with like a second line guy kind of like mashed together. It's like, is he going to be a third line lock in the future? Maybe. Like, that's where it's kind of projected from him because he's got like that fire, kind of like that compete, that toughness, kind of the totally on Xhekaj brand. But then that skill with that shot, he can not afraid to get to the front of the net. It's really all those different factors coming in together where his niche is rather quite large here. So that's what separates him. And this isn't like a knock on Owen Beck or Oliver Kapanen. We love them. There's just so much that Florian can really bring to the table, which I think could be a huge factor going forward, which another huge part of this as well is the confidence, which I think is another thing that's really on brand with the Xhekaj. Like, this is a guy that he really believes. Like, he sees himself, he believes he's an NHL talent. And right now, he's just completely showing us that, he is exactly just that.
Yeah, and confidence without too much overconfidence. Like, I'm sure he's a bit cocky to some respect, but it's not like he's out there saying, yeah, I should be on the team. Like, this guy's doing his job. He's doing it well. 24 goals is like kind of a fourth line player. Like, he's just saying, look, I'm going to do my job and to keep doing it. He's ready to be that next level player. And look, we're super excited to follow him. Leave some love for Florian down below. I know he's a fan favorite. And, there is a spot on this team for a tough guy in the long-term future, especially once maybe Anderson's contract is gone after, next year. So anyway, there's a spot there. Just have to wait and see if he can take it because he very well just might. But we got to move on to a guy that is currently on the roster, and that is Juraj Slafkovsky, who, again, coming off the career-high 51 points last year. But the big thing that, we wanted to see, maybe that goal-scoring jump, we didn't quite see it. He definitely worked on his physicality, winning puck battles a lot more. That was a huge improvement. But the next thing is taking that scoring jump. And today, what was he doing in Brassard? Well, he was practicing on his one-timers with Ivan Demidov. And Juraj Slafkovsky, we have been saying this, Jesse, as much as Mike Matheson maybe didn't want to pass him that puck on that one-time side, maybe not as much of a thing this past season. But look at these rockets of a shot. Like, I feel like this is not bias. Like, this is just objectively, that third shot is nuts. The puck is exploding off his stick into the net. There's only like a handful of guys that I've ever seen take one-timers harder than this for the Habs. Right now on the team, Laine, that's pretty much it. Like, really? I mean, these kind of shots are very impressive. It has me wondering, Jesse, I mean, he hasn't been used in that kind of right side one-time shot on the power play. The guy only has 12 career power play goals, only 5 this past year. Do you think there's a world where we might experiment with something like this year? Because I know we've been calling for it for a while.
We have to. I think the Slaf Shoot More project is in full effect, and it really just has my full support. I'm behind it. I want to see it And as much as I like Slaf having him in front of the net and still going there from time to time, I'd rather it be have a much more of this shooting option, more of like an 80-20 split of shooting to front of net. There's other guys that can play the front of the net. I don't feel like we're using all of Slaf's skill. That was a good habit to get him to get in the front of the net, but really that shooting option, what we're seeing right now from in practice, like important to note, Josh, Juraj Slafkovsky is completely hammering home those pucks right now. It's very rare to see when you're shooting a shot. The pucks are really coming back at him. Like when you're playing basketball, make a perfect shot, the ball just comes right back to you. Very rare to see somebody just hammering home pucks the way that Slaf is right now. You can tell he's working on exactly what he needs to do. But it's not just the power that's impressing me, Josh, but it's the accuracy. Like he's picking his spot here and he's hitting it every single time. Like he's going for top cheese, getting some good elevation on that shot. So I absolutely want to see so much of this. Great to see Demidov just being a pal. Like I want to see that friendship between them grow a lot. I know we've seen a lot of Laine, Hutson and Demidov together, and I want to see Slafkovsky and Demidov as well. Just 'cause I feel like they can have a really good influence on each other to really kind of elevate both of their games here going forward. This is why, like, seeing this, Josh, like, I'm thinking that Slaf's going to take that huge jump. Like, I'm thinking going from, like, 18 goals last year, I think he can go all the way to 26. Like, I think he could actually probably almost, like, improve his output almost by 50% here, get 8 more 9 goals possibly here. Like, what's your take on goals for Slafkovsky for next year?
Yeah, my goal would be 25. I think if we see 25, 26, that'd be perfect, right? Because we know his shot is hard. There's no doubt about that. He has always had a heavy shot. Even some of his shots last year, those crazy short side snapshots that he has a few of those, like these weird one-time snapshots he's had from Suzuki. He's so good at those too. Like, it's just a matter of putting it all together. I think you're bang on. 26 goals would be a great. See, why not? Let's put it up 50%. Well, if you put it up 50% from 2 years ago, it'd be 30 goals. If you put it up 50% from last year, 27. Between 25 and 30, I think would be awesome. And hey, well, on that first line with these guys continuing to develop, I think it's a reality. Leave your thoughts. How many goals do you see Slaf getting this year, especially if his shot is looking like that? Because I think it could be pretty spicy, but spicy is the name of the game here today. Oh, man. Look, I'm sure you've seen a lot of the talk about Sidney Crosby today, but look, we're going to give you a nice little gift-wrapped summary of everything that went on. But, to start on this here, we got to just go back a little bit, and we got to go back to in February when he was playing, of course, in Montreal formation stuff. He said, look, he loves to play in environments like that. He grew up a Habs fan. To have an ovation like that here was really something special, something I'll always remember. And I remember running wild with that because, like, oh my gosh, that feels amazing. But then, in this article from Pierre Lebrun today at The Athletic, Crosby and his agent spoke about it, and we'll go through these quotes pretty quick. Look, Crosby said, look, he gets why that speculation will come up. It doesn't make it any easier when you're losing to hear those things, but at the same time, to know that a team like that wants you, it's not the end of the world. It could be worse, he smiles. Yeah, I think that's just part of it. So if that alone wasn't something to say, look, and in his heart, he definitely wouldn't mind it, even though every day he does confirm he is committed to the Pittsburgh Penguins. His agent, Pat Brisson, who again has Crosby's best interest in mind, and also he wants Crosby to make money because then he will make money. But regardless, Pat Brisson, his agent, said, let's put it this way. It's always a possibility when he was talking about potentially entertaining a trade for Crosby in the future. It's been 3 years. They haven't made the playoffs. It all depends on how Sid is going to be and how the team's going to do. I maintain the same position that I do believe he should be playing playoff hockey every year, in my opinion. And so, like, they've actually basically said it here, Jesse. Crosby, without objectively saying, yes, I want to be a Montreal Canadien. He's like, I think it's clear he definitely wouldn't mind it. Pat Brisson, don't ever rule it out. As much as this maybe still is a long shot, to hear these comments like this, I just feel like I can't help but get my hopes up.
Still a long shot, but this is the type of media groundwork that you see being laid, especially by an agent, often before a big player is traded. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying this is the type of groundwork you want to do ahead of time for a big trade like that to maybe lessen the type of shock. You have to feel a lot of things that they're doing in front of the media. It's calculated. It's for a reason. They didn't need to go so far in some of these answers, but they did, Josh, which is really important. Again, with Pat Brisson, depending on how you want to pronounce it there, like mentioning how he feels like bullish on like the fact that like how Crosby should be in the playoffs every year. And for me, like he's telling me how he really feels about the situation. It's like team aside, just as a service to the NHL, he makes like the Tom Brady comparison who he went along to another team and ended up winning a championship there. That just Crosby is somebody for the NHL that we just want to see every single year in, year out. It's hard to really argue against that type of logic. But like, again, even like what Crosby is saying, like, because again, like this is a smart guy. This is a captain. He's a vet. He's a leader. Like when he's saying that, like to know that a team like that wants you, it's not the end of the world. From there, it's like for me, like he's not just talking about the fan base. Like for me, he's also talking about like a young up and coming team. I feel like he's a smart guy. He's addressing both sides of that coin. It's a huge compliment to the Montreal Canadiens as well as the fan base as well. It's like they're a young up and coming team. I think just, knowing if you're a star player, just to be wanted is a nice thing. But especially just considering that it kind of hits so close to home is very interesting. And of course, just to reiterate, like, Pat Brisson saying that like this is like a possibility here. Again, it's just very interesting when he could kind of shut it down. He doesn't need to kind of keep that door a little bit open like he's doing with these comments. For me, is extremely, extremely intriguing here going forward. Now, we know that like the likelihood, we've kind of forgotten about Crosby. We're figuring we're going to some other options. Just hearing this comment right as the Price trade happened not too long ago, we actually now have the ammunition to make, a trade happen is a little bit interesting timing. Of course, do I think that that's, the likelihood of it? Like, I think there's, like 80% chance that Crosby's staying in Montreal. But this is the biggest opportunity that it's ever been. Like, this is a much bigger chance than it was even just a week before, or even comments like this. I think that increases it. It's probably like a 90% chance he's saying with the Penguins. Saying a comment like this, it's kind of maybe putting a little bit of doubt into this, just knowing what a competitor that Crosby is. This is just, again, such a compliment to the team. You have to feel like other stars around the league are hearing about this as well. So this whole discourse just matters a lot as we're really looking to really shore up the talent on this team here.
Yeah, for sure. And Crosby, of course, the consummate professional. Like, he's never going to be like, no, I have no interest. No, that's not something I want. Like, he's going to pay his dues and respects to everyone that he needs to pay respects to. I think it's, again, like the Brisson stuff. Like, he didn't have to say that. He could have just said, listen, we're committed to Pittsburgh right now. We're going to do what's best for Sidney Crosby. But it's like, anyway, I feel like they could have said less, and they didn't. And I think that's kind of what you were getting at. And that's why, like, they're planting the roots there. Again, I think our consensus here is that it's far from likely. Like, I don't think this makes it imminent or anything like that. But it is at least worth keeping an eye on a bit more maybe than we were before. With the McTavish stuff kind of just not really working out. We don't really know where that future 2C is. We got some cap space. There's a certain guy. Why not keep the eye out? And I know a lot of you guys love it. Leave your thoughts on it down below because that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. It's getting crazy. Season's right around the corner. We got Habs hockey in just, 4 days? Cannot wait for it. If you want to stay up to date every single day, like I said, hit that free subscribe button. You won't regret it. I promise. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.